Okay, so here's the solution to problem number 1 for tracking the states of our array lists. So in the beginning of this program, we are creating 2 array lists, one called list that holds string objects, and another one called n that holds integer objects. So integers that are cast now as an integer object with a capital I. Okay, so first we're going to enter a for loop, and starting at I equals 0, going up until but not including 2, we're going to do the following. We're going to add tomato to the first available open slot in our array list. So when we create an array list, by default, it has a capacity of 10, so from index 0 to 9. And if we happen to run out of room, it will automatically double in capacity. And the size is actually how many elements are in the array list. So starting out, we're going to say that I equals 0, which is less than 2. So we're going to go ahead and add tomato to the first available spot in the list. So that'll be index 0, tomato. Okay, so if we go back up to the for loop, I++ will now make I equal 1. 1 is less than 2 still, so we're going to add tomato to the next available spot. Tomato. All right, go back up I++. I is now 2. 2 is not less than 2, so we're going to exit out of that for loop and go to the next one. So again, I starts out as 0, 0 is less than 2. This time we're going to add something to n. We're going to add whatever the value of I currently is, which is 0. So we're going to add 0 to the first available spot in n, which is valid since 0 is an integer. We're going to go up to I++. I is now 1. 1 is still less than 2, so we're going to add the current value of I to the next spot in n. So I is currently 1. 1's going to get added to the next spot in n. We're going to go back up in I++. So I is now 2, which is not less than 2. So we're going to exit out of that for loop, and we're going to go down to this set of print statements. So what this is going to do is that first print statement is going to print out the contents of list. So if we look at list in our reference sheet, we've got tomato, tomato. So on my sticky, I have my little terminal window. And so it's just going to print out the contents of the list in between 2 square brackets. So I'm going to put tomato, and they're separated by commas, and tomato. All right. The next print statement is going to print the contents of n. So if we look at ArrayList n, it has a 0 and a 1. So again, with our square brackets, 0, 1. And they do print on separate lines. Okay, now the next step is we're going to add string cheese to the list, but specifically now, instead of at the end of the array list, we're going to put it at index position 1. So we already have something at index position 1, so what's going to happen is this value that's currently in position 1, now it doesn't get erased, it gets shifted to the right. So tomato moves over and makes room for our new cheese value. Okay, and then we're going to add the integer 214 to index position 1 in n. We already have something at index position 1, so that gets shifted over to make room for 214. Okay, and now we want to print out the current contents of these array lists again. So the list currently has tomato, cheese, tomato. Tomato, cheese, tomato, square bracket, there we go. And n currently has 0, 214, 1. we're going to remove some elements. So we're going to remove the second element in lists. So we look at lists and we find whatever's in the second index position and we're going to remove it. It gets lost forever. And then we're going to remove the second element out of n. So we look at the second element in ArrayList n and we're going to delete that. We're going to remove it. And our last step is to now print out the current elements in the ArrayList list and n. So list currently has tomato and cheese. So we're going to print out tomato and cheese. And our n, because we're also printing out the contents of n has 0 and 214. All right, and that is the solution to tracking the state of the array list and checking the values intermittently using the print statements to look at the contents in the terminal.